Have you ever noticed that people hesitate before talking to you? That even without raising your voice, your presence seems to make others uncomfortable? There's something about you that makes people see you as a dominant figure, perhaps even intimidating. But why? Carl Jung said that we all have a shadow, repressed aspects of our personality that, when projected onto the outside world, can trigger unexpected reactions in others. The intimidation you cause may not be intentional, but rather a reflection of your own unconscious power. Let's explore the signs that you impose this presence and what it really means. Your conversations are deep. You have no interest in trivial talk or interactions that merely skim the surface of existence. For many, this can be intimidating because it forces them out of the comfort of shallow communication and into deeper questions about themselves and the world. Jungian psychology speaks of the need to integrate the self, that is, to understand the hidden aspects of one's own mind. If you're someone who constantly seeks this inner truth, those who avoid this process may feel uneasy around you. You may not be the tallest or the most physically imposing person, but something in your posture, your gaze, and the way you carry yourself makes others feel your presence before you even say a word. This happens because your body language communicates a silent, unwavering confidence. The philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche spoke about the concept of the Übermensch, the overman who transcends mediocrity and takes control of his own destiny. If you carry this inner strength, those still trapped in their insecurities may see you as a threat. While many seek acceptance, you are not afraid to be authentic. This means you have no patience for insincerity, flattery, or passive-aggressive behavior. People notice this independence and may feel uncomfortable because they are still bound by their need for approval. Jung said that to achieve individuation, the process of becoming who we truly are, we must free ourselves from excessive societal influence. Those who haven't done this yet may see your authenticity as a direct challenge to their way of living. There is something about you that acts as a mirror for others. Your strength, determination, and clarity force people to confront their own weaknesses and limitations. Not everyone is ready for that. The philosopher Hannah Arendt spoke about how true freedom comes from critical thinking and conscious action. If you live with that clarity of purpose, those who avoid such responsibility may feel afraid or uncomfortable around you. But what does all this really mean? Is being intimidating a good thing or a bad thing? If your presence intimidates others, you might wonder whether this is a gift or a burden. On one hand, you exude authority, authenticity, and personal power. But on the other, this can create unexpected social isolation. The truth is, not everyone is ready to handle the intensity of someone who lives without masks. Carl Jung said that our journey toward individuation, becoming who we truly are, can drive away those who are not yet prepared to confront their own shadows. Your presence may trigger feelings of inadequacy or insecurity in others, not because you make them feel inferior, but because you force them to see aspects of themselves they would rather ignore. But this raises an important question. Does being intimidating mean being feared or merely being misunderstood? People may admire your stance, your confidence, and your intellect, yet hesitate to get close. This can happen because you radiate self-sufficiency, and often, society values those who seek approval more than those who walk alone. Nietzsche once said, "Solitude is for the spirit what fasting is for the body." Those who develop a strong personality often walk paths less traveled, where few dare to follow. And this can be uncomfortable for those who still rely on external validation to feel secure. If you feel that, despite being respected, few truly connect with you, it might be because your energy suggests you don't need anyone, even when, deep down, every human being desires genuine connections. Most people avoid confrontation, seeking the superficial peace of conformity. But you don't hesitate to expose truths, even if they cause discomfort. If someone lies, manipulates, or acts dishonestly, you don't stay silent. This can be intimidating because it puts others in a vulnerable position. Jung said that the shadow contains the hidden aspects of personality, often repressed and projected onto others. If you have the courage to face your own shadow and do not fear exposing falsehoods around you, you may become a threat to those still living in illusion. However, there is a fine line between commanding respect and inspiring fear. What defines this difference? The difference between being seen as an inspiring leader or as someone truly intimidating lies in how your presence affects others. Fear arises when people feel you could harm them, while respect comes when they recognize your strength, but know you won't use it destructively. The Stoic philosopher Seneca once said, "True greatness does not need to intimidate, but to inspire." So the question is not just whether others fear you, but rather what they see reflected in your presence. If your strength commands respect, but also creates distance, perhaps the key lies in how you communicate. It's not always necessary to be harsh to be firm, just as you don't need to raise your voice to be heard. But if you already recognize these traits in yourself, how can you use them to build connections without compromising your authenticity? If people around you hesitate before approaching, it doesn't mean you need to change who you are. However, you can transform this strength into something that not only commands respect, but also inspires and connects. After all, true leadership isn't based on fear. It's about the ability to uplift others. Carl Jung teaches us that individuation, the process of fully becoming ourselves, doesn't mean isolation, but integration. The challenge for those who naturally intimidate others is finding a balance between strength and accessibility, between a firm presence and empathy. So how can you channel this presence in a way that serves as a catalyst for growth, rather than a barrier to human connection? Having a strong presence doesn't mean ignoring the emotions of others. On the contrary, one of the greatest demonstrations of power is the ability to listen and understand how people around you feel. Daniel Goleman, the psychologist who popularized the concept of emotional intelligence, states that truly influential people don't just command respect, they also demonstrate empathy. This doesn't mean softening your personality, but rather understanding how your energy impacts those around you and adjusting your approach when necessary. This means asking yourself, do my words and actions create a space for others to grow? Am I instilling fear or encouraging respect? Do people feel they can open up to me, or do they withdraw in my presence? Authenticity is a great quality, but when expressed too abruptly, it can be misinterpreted. The difference between a wise leader and a tyrant lies in how they communicate their truths. The philosopher Socrates, for example, didn't force his ideas onto others. He asked questions that led people to reflect for themselves. This is a powerful strategy. Instead of imposing your views, help others arrive at their own conclusions. If you feel that your presence intimidates others, try replacing imposition with guidance. Instead of simply pointing out flaws, ask, what do you think could be done differently? How does this situation impact your life? What's stopping you from changing it? By doing this, your strength becomes a tool for growth rather than a barrier to communication. Jung said that integrating the shadow doesn't just mean accepting our darkness, but also recognizing that behind every fortress, there is vulnerability. Vulnerability isn't weakness. It's the courage to be seen completely. If you sense that people see you as inaccessible, one way to break that barrier is by sharing moments of doubt, challenges, or personal lessons. This creates a sense of humanity and allows others to connect with you without fear. Thinker Brené Brown emphasizes that vulnerability is what makes us truly relatable. Leaders who demonstrate strength but also humility are the ones who leave lasting marks on others' lives. But even as you seek balance, it's important to remember, not everyone is ready for your energy, and that's not your problem. If you naturally command respect and intimidate others, some people will distance themselves, and that's part of the process. It's not your role to dim your light just so others feel more comfortable in their own shadows. Carl Jung teaches us that each person is at a different stage in the process of individuation. Some are still ruled by fear and the need for acceptance, while others have begun walking the path of authenticity and self-knowledge. If you belong to the latter group, it's natural that a gap forms between you and those who aren't yet ready to recognize their own strength. However, this doesn't mean you should isolate yourself or give up on creating connections. On the contrary, Your role can be that of a silent guide, someone whose presence, rather than being a threat, serves as inspiration for others to find their own inner power. One of the greatest freedoms you can achieve is understanding that pleasing everyone is impossible and shouldn't even be a goal. The more authentic you are, the more polarizing your presence will be. Some people will feel inspired, while others will feel challenged and uncomfortable. The philosopher Jean-Paul Sartre spoke about bad faith, the self-deception of those who live to meet others' expectations instead of embracing their true essence. If your authenticity bothers someone, it often says more about them than it does about you. The real question is, would you rather be true to yourself and be surrounded only by those who genuinely connect with you? Or would you rather mold yourself to be accepted by everyone, even if it means losing your essence? For those who seek individuation, the choice is obvious. It's important to understand the difference between being respected and being feared. Fear arises when others feel you might harm, humiliate, or expose them. Respect, on the other hand, comes when your strength is acknowledged but not seen as a threat. To ensure you are generating respect rather than fear, show empathy, maintain your firmness, but listen to others. Choose your battles. Not every confrontation needs to be fought. Give others room to grow. Your presence can be an inspiration, not an imposition. True leaders don't create followers, they create other leaders. If people see you as intimidating, that's not necessarily a bad thing. It may simply be a reflection of your own personal power. However, how you handle this perception determines whether your presence becomes a barrier or a channel for transformation. Carl Jung said that those who integrate their shadow and accept who they truly are become free. And true freedom terrifies those who still live imprisoned by fear. So if your presence commands respect, use this gift wisely. Not everyone will be ready to walk alongside you, but those who are will find in you not an enemy, but a mirror for their own evolution. And in the end, that's all that really matters.